This is Brad Montgomery. Welcome to the Successful, Interesting, and Awesome podcast, where I interview people who are, wait for it, successful, interesting, and awesome. Or at least one of those three. Hey everybody, it's Brad Montgomery. I've missed you. You are looking good. As always, I'm really excited to introduce this podcast. I am about to show you an interview with Dolly Babb. She is a director of delivery for Verizon. She works for Rickson. That is a huge multinational corporation. This woman is a big hotshot leader in a huge multinational corporation, and I'm telling you, she's good at it. But that's not why I wanted to interview her. I wanted to interview her because I've had some experience with her in the past, and I'm telling you, she is like a poster child for the power of emotional and social support as it relates to performance. And that is my topic. In case you're just joining me for the first time, I'm a professional speaker and a motivational speaker, and that's my topic. I talk about how we can make ourselves and those people around us better using, wait for it, emotional and social support, which just means encouraging and acknowledgement and praise and recognition and just letting people know we care about them. And what I love so much about this interview is I'm going to ask Dolly about her experience as a very successful leader and her experience as somebody who is known in Rickson as being a rock star with this type of leadership. She tends to call it humanness and empathy. I call it emotional and social support. It's the same dang thing. Here's what I love about it. Here's what I want you to listen for, a couple of takeaways. One, I want you to listen how genuine she is. There is not a cynical bone in Dolly Babb's body. Meaning, this tool, social and emotional support, is proven. It works. It is what Harvard Business Review calls the single most important characteristic of every measurable educational and business background. Those are big words for encouragement, right? She could use these techniques to manipulate people and get them to do more of what she needs them to do so that she could, push her own career forward. That's not the way she does this. She just does it because she's, again, human and empathetic. And she just cares about people. But the delicious and delightful byproduct is this has been amazing for Rickson. It's been amazing for those people she has built up. But also it's been amazing for her career. Wait till you hear about the big award she won. So, I have read a lot and studied a lot about the research of the power of emotional and social support in business. But what I loved about Dolly is she not only proves those studies to be true, but she doesn't care about those studies because she's just being kind. So get ready. If you want to ramp up your career and your business, if you just want to be a better person, and if you want to have more fun at work, you're going to love this interview. Stay tuned. We got Dolly Babb. All right. How are you?
I am good. Of course, I try to look at the positive things that came out of COVID. One of those is I'm remodeling my entire house. So I still have no kitchen. I'm entering month 5, but the kitchen's ordered, and it won't be done until August.
So does this mean in your house you have people coming in and out all the time?
Well, unfortunately, the the contractor that I wanted to hire backed out at the last minute. And I thought, you've been a project manager for over 40 years. So I'm doing it all myself as far as scheduling and ordering supplies and getting people in
Right.
here. So, no, I'm almost done. The kitchen is the last thing.
So you're your own general contractor.
I am.
Well, that's very badass of you.
Yeah, the contractor tried to talk me out of it. He said, you don't want to do that because if something comes and it's damaged, you have to handle it, and you're not a contractor. It's like, I can do anything.
Yeah, you are a strong, bold, brave person for sure.
Well, sometimes.
Tell me about COVID and working. What's it been like for you, and how was Rickson, and how's Dolly Babb?
Well, when we first went into work from home mode, um, I'm just so proud of my employees. They stepped up. I mean, we had um, escalation after escalation because you can imagine we take care of video systems.
Mm.
We take care of call-in numbers to most of the major cities so that for unemployment. So the
Oh.
calls were off the charts. The systems were being overloaded. We had one system where my employees, I mean, literally 24 hours a day for 3 weeks, set up an expansion to the system to handle it for um, one state. I can't tell you who it is. Um, but normally it would have taken 3 or 4 months to get that up and running. They did it in 3 weeks. It was just, it was amazing what they did.
I'm
Um,
assuming there must
so
have
working
been
from,
a urgent. There must have been a sense of urgency, like, oh, this is we know exactly why this is so important, and it's not because our boss
oh,
said so.
absolutely.
We get it.
No, no, no. They reacted immediately. I mean, they knew because of the systems that we handle for our customer that we were going to get slammed.
Mm.
And we did. And they all, no one complained. They all just, hey, I'll take it on, I'll take it on. And I'm just so very proud of the way that they reacted.
Aw.
Um, yeah, they're good people and they're dedicated to Rickson and to our customers. Um, it was just amazing. Now, then there was the then there were the people that had to work from home that had families,
Mm.
littles, and they had a little bit of a rough start trying to figure out too what are their hours, because there was homeschooling that had
Mm.
to occur. Um, Unfortunately, it fell on a lot of our women employees. So Rickson was so understanding. They said, you schedule whatever hours you need for your family and then, work whatever hours that you're able to work for us and just let the team know when you're available.
Right.
So
Good for
we
Erickson.
worked through, yeah, we worked through all of that. It's on a more personal level, here I am alone, me and my dog.
Mm.
um, And I normally go home to Kansas City a couple times a year, and that was out of the question. So, and my big plan last summer was to go to Italy. Well, that wasn't going to happen either.
Yeah.
So I took my vacation funds and I bought a Facebook portal for most of my family members, my nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters.
I don't
And
know what that is, Dolly. What is a Facebook portal?
it hooks up through Messenger, but you can hook up seven at the same time. So it's kind of like this, but you have seven portals
Oh.
connected. And we started a family game night, and we have been playing every Saturday since lockdown. And
Oh.
I know, and it's so fun, and everybody looks forward to it, and they're all saying, "Let's keep doing this after COVID because we're having such a good time." And we all just feel like even more connected than we were before.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty
Well,
cool,
that must
pretty
make
cool.
you feel proud of yourself because you're like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was my idea. Yeah, I led that.
Uh, my niece sent me a beautiful card. Just well, my birthday was this month, so
Happy birthday.
she sent. Thank you. She sent me a gift, and she sent me the most beautiful card about the strength in women, and thanked me for bringing the family together. And it was just like, oh, that's so cool.
Well, I don't know you that well, but that seems like catnip for Dolly. Calling you out for that.
Yeah, I'm very close to my family. If you remember, I have 10 siblings, and eight of which are still alive. And I just feel this need to just stay connected to them. So it's
Well,
good.
you're a good person. It's so good to see your face. Um, I'd love to tell you where I am, and I want to capture that story with you. You had a young woman from India that was struggling, and you said, "Oh, I got more stories where that came from, Brad." But I've been writing a book on social and emotional support, and
Yeah.
mostly that means at work. And you just, more than anyone I know, you just seem to personify this stuff. So I read this data and I read these studies, and I'm thinking, I think Dolly just does this without the studies. I think she just gets it, but I'm not positive. Like, I don't know how much you're reading positive psychology and saying, allow me to
No,
apply that to my leadership. I think it's instinct for you.
it is. I mean, I grew up in a very close family, and my mother was kind and caring, so I think a lot of it is my upbringing. I think the other half of it from a business perspective is I started at the very bottom of the ladder. So I get it. I understand where these people are coming from and what's important to someone who works, it may be a lower level job. They need to feel important. They need to feel wanted and appreciated. And I try my best to do that for everyone that works in my team.
Why? So I think I know, but I want to hear it in Dolly's words. Why do people need to feel important? Why do they need to be recognized? Why is that so important to you as a leader?
You spend a third of your life at work, right? And imagine if the other two-thirds were unappreciated, that your family didn't appreciate you, and you had no validation that the work you're doing is really good work. I think you wouldn't be motivated to do anything. You wouldn't be motivated to stay in a marriage. You wouldn't be motivated to discipline your children. You know, um, I think work is the same way. You have to be motivated to want to be here every morning, wake up and go, I love my job, you know? And part of that, a lot of that is just recognition.
Well, why? Now I swear I know, but for you and I both have met leaders who don't agree with you. They'd say like,
Oh,
just get your work done. I get my work done. I'm fine. You get your work done. You'll be fine. And they don't care about job satisfaction and motivation or any of that. But I think you would argue with them. But what would you say?
I would say their attrition rate's probably pretty high. um, at Ericsson, we take a survey twice a year. It's called The Voice. We want to hear their voice. We want every employee to tell us, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing right? What do you want me to keep doing? And it's a lot of questions, but it gets down to some of our core values. Empathy and humanness is one of those. And I think I'm not going to say one of the few, but I'm one of those leaders that I read every response. I build a program around improvements. I give them what they want. And one of the top things is recognition, not money, recognition. Um, so
Let
as a
me
matter of
interrupt
fact,
you.
yeah,
You know they want recognition because they write that in their answers.
yes,
Ah,
yes.
and how do they typically articulate that?
Well, it's an anonymous survey, so they feel very, open to speak up. Um, and they will say, hey, why only certain members of the team are recognized? That's their perception, right? Now, recognition comes in many forms. We have a recognition program where we give points away to recognize good works. Employees have a certain number of points. I have a certain number of points, and I give those to the team. Um, with those, they redeem merchandise. And I got a 3D printer out of all of my points last year. so, um, and it also comes in the form of promotions and salary increases, bonuses. And my team is pretty open about saying what they feel about all of those different areas of recognition. And even if one person gives me a negative, I will research it and find out why. I don't know who that person is, obviously, because it's
Right.
an anonymous survey, but I can certainly try to take my leadership staff and make sure that they use those tools.
Well, and we're talking about recognition, and you mentioned bonuses and that type of financial feedback.
Mhm.
Are your respondees mentioning just praise and kindness and kind of call outs like I saw Bob doing great? Or do they mention that, or do they still? I'm just curious how they articulate their need for recognition.
Um, they will sometimes they will say, I worked on X project and I worked extra hours and no one ever
Ah,
patted me on the back, kind of
ah,
thing. Yeah. So I mean, I think we do a pretty good job on my team of recognizing,
yeah.
and appreciating.
I'm
Another
guessing.
form, one more thing, another form of that is happy hour, right?
Well, tell me
We
more.
have, we, um, we will carve out an hour and bring the team onto, a Microsoft Teams call. And we make everybody turn on their video. We want to see you.
Right.
And we'll either visit and ask, how's your family doing? Are you working on any hobbies? That kind of thing. Or sometimes we play games. We'll do games. I just did one with the leadership team in my department. That was an escape room that was designed by Rickson R&D. It
Oh,
was really
cool.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
super fun.
but that promoted, cooperation and collaboration. They had to figure out how to get out of the rooms. Which was really quite fun.
But go back one when you just said part of what we did is ask them how they're doing and do you have any
Yes.
hobbies? Are you facilitating that, or is because that for introverted leaders that would scare the crap out of them?
Um, some leaders are better than others, at doing this. um, the other thing that some of those leaders are doing are one-on-one calls.
Ah,
I know my boss, my VP, he has made it a point that this year or this quarter, I'm not sure what his time frame is, he's calling every single employee
mm,
that's under him, and that's a lot of people. Um, but just to check in to see how they're doing, and sometimes they do open up and things aren't so good. Um, I'll tell you one another story.
yes, please.
um, I had an employee who had he's from India and lives here in Colorado Springs. He had a death in his family of a very young family member that he was very very close to. It was a tragedy, and he fell apart, just fell apart. I couldn't go over to his place because of COVID, and I wanted so badly to hug him,
Oh,
and just tell him it's going to be okay. Um, I gave him permission to immediately leave the country. That at that time, he would be able to go to India, but he'd have to stay in quarantine, at his family's home, I guess, for 14 days. He has a wife and two very young children. They got to Chicago, and his paperwork was not in order.
oh no.
They had the wrong birth date on his papers. So he sent his wife and children on to India, and he had to come back. And he was just beside himself with grief and disappointment. Um, and he asked if he goes, "Can I? I have a friend in Texas, and I think I need to go to Texas." Absolutely, pack it up, go to Texas. Um, and I told him to take some time off, and he, of course, didn't. Staying busy was his coping mechanism. So he's still not over what happened. And I did get to see him finally recently, and he came over, and it was just so good just to, I'm starting to see people now because we're all vaccinated. and it's just touching them. It's
Mm,
just, because I can't do that to you, right? When you're on a video screen. Um, and it's just being able just to be in the same room, and we talked and talked and talked until we just couldn't talk anymore. But and we texted a lot. We talked a lot while he was, by himself. His
right.
family has returned now, so it's just been hard on so many people I know who've lost family members to COVID. It's
Right.
just it's
Well, what strikes me
terrible.
about these stories is that you're able to have such empathy. I'm curious how that translates to work. So if you're teaching a leadership at Erickson class right now, I think you'd use this story as an example. How would you turn this into wisdom for a younger leader?
It's not just younger leaders. It's funny that you should bring that up. Um, I took some training at Erickson this year. And one of the topics was humanness and empathy, where, I think I scored pretty high in that category.
I bet you did.
Um, but then we had the voice survey, and I have some colleagues that didn't score so well in that category. So I am actually now trying to put together some training for them. In reading their comments from the survey, it was like they rule with an iron fist, and you can't treat people like that. You will get nothing from them. And again, your attrition will be high.
Right.
So, people want to be wanted. They want to be understood. They want to be able to speak freely, without any backlash. And that's your job as a leader, is to give them that voice and to help them, to want to be there and to want to do the work.
Which just kills me how smart you are. Because you are like quoting the Harvard Business Review. You are exactly the poster child for all of this stuff. But again, what strikes me is that it's just so natural to you. It's not a studied, like, here's my strategy. I need to go make 3 calls today because I'm supposed to. I don't see you doing that.
No, again, I think a lot of it was my upbringing, and because I have made my way through the ranks, and I understand every single person that works for me. I've been there.
Well, let me go backwards to this guy who had a tragedy in India, and then during COVID he had to send his family away. Uh, why was that such a good idea? So, if I'm like the analyst at Ericsson and I'm just looking at productivity and work product, why was your humanness so important?
I don't think, I think being so far from home, I've been to India where I don't always speak the language. They don't always speak English. You start to feel a little isolated. When you feel isolated, I think you kind of get lost in your head, and you're not productive. Your mind isn't on work. Um, you need an outlet. You need someone to understand what you're going through. Um, and if I'm the only one that can offer that, then I will.
Mm.
And I'm not saying I am. I'm sure there are coworkers as well. Um, there are a lot of good people on our team that support one another in a very personal way.
Yeah. Did you ever make the calculation with this guy? All right. Uh, Other managers might say, "I'll give you some time because you've earned it, but then we got to get back to work." Or did you ever think, "We're going to lose this guy if I hassle him or do anything that's put
No,
him"?
none of
Nope.
that ever came into my mind. It's we're a team. We support each other. You take whatever time you need, to grieve, or you just tell me. And we immediately gathered up the people on the team and say, I need you to do this for him and that for him and this for him. And they gladly stepped up to do it. You
Um,
know, we're more than coworkers. We are a family. We're a family of people.
I believe that. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering how you got there. Like, How did you? So the culture in your team at least is sounds like it's just super strong and super warm
Yeah.
and super filled with trust. But
Yes, absolutely.
you and I know stories. I've got a guy across the street who works for a big. Well, it rhymes with schmoogle, and their culture is a mess. They don't have that trust and cover for each other. It's dog eat dog.
It's really. I guess I have just always been this way, and it surprises me that others are not.
I
And
love that.
I just, it's um, my one of my leaders, wonderful man, so kind, just so kind. But we meet every week, and I'm supposed to look to him for guidance. And a lot of the time he's like, wait a minute, let me write down what you just said. You just taught
Oh,
me something. you
what
know?
what's an example that this guy needed to learn from you?
Well, last week I told him I was starting a new program called Employee of the Moment. And I have these postcards that I found on this cute little website. That it's like a postcard mini certificate, Employee of the Moment. And you fill it in their name, and it's for doing that thankless job of, and you fill in what they did. And then I'll pop it in the mail, and someone will get a nice little surprise.
So, for
And he,
example, it might be thank you for covering for this poor guy whose family had to go to India. You
or
were
not even
amazing.
not even at that magnitude, right? I think for something like that, I'd give E-stars. I'd give points,
Oh,
what we call E-stars. No, it might be thanks for speaking up in that meeting. I didn't know what to say, or thanks for running that report because I certainly didn't have the time, things like that.
all right. So then, what happens? So you send it to somebody. It's I figure like almost like a happy hand grenade. You pull the pin and you throw it and you wait. You don't know when it's going off.
Yeah.
Then what's the feedback been from those people whom you surprise with an actual postcard in the mail?
Um, I get little emails of thanks for recognizing me, or you're so sweet, like things like that. Sometimes they don't say anything, which is fine, you know.
Yeah, I
They
think some
can just
people are not built that way.
bask in that moment, right? And then just say, okay, moving on. And, and I think it also motivates them internally to keep doing good work, and good works.
My phone's going off like a dork. Whenever you're
Yeah.
recording something, don't let your phone be on, Dolly. Could you do me a favor? Oh, I'm so sorry. It's got one more ring in it, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
You
it's
know,
such a
during
rook. It's a rookie
during
era.
COVID, did do you have a new wardrobe because of COVID?
No, but I have Zoom shirts. Do you know what Zoom shirts are? Have you heard that phrase?
No.
Zoom shirts. I read this in the New York Times, and it delighted me because I have Zoom shirts. I just didn't know what they're called. A Zoom shirt is a shirt that's hanging just off camera, so that you're sitting there in your very comfortable T-shirt with a coffee stain on it or whatever, and then you realize, oh, I've got a call with whatever my work team, and then you quickly go change and then come back with your Zoom shirt. That is the only way my wardrobe is changed, and that I have a shirt hanging in my
my
office.
my wardrobe has changed significantly. I now have 20 pair. I had to show you this of
Yes.
fashion glasses,
Oh, I love those.
and I have something to match and coordinate every top that I wear. It's the new pants.
What? Oh, I love that. It's funny because I did notice your pink shirt and your pink glasses, and I was going to ask you about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on it. So, did you go to some glasses store and say, I need four of them. Here's my prescription.
I found two websites that sell glasses on the cheap. And I have a prescription, right? So and they're all prescription glasses, and they cost anywhere between $20 and $50.
I love that.
So I wasn't doing much shopping for clothing, so I thought, oh, I'm just going to order glasses, and I'm always coordinated, and people have noticed it, and they just love it. They're like, what's she going to wear today?
Yeah, so it's kind of become the Dolly thing, I guess.
It has.
You're such an impressive person to me, Dolly. Would you be willing to retell that story? Interestingly, another employee whose home lives in India. It was a young
Mhm.
woman that was struggling, and the way I remember it, you didn't know she was struggling. Her work product wasn't that good.
Yeah, we were. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's one of my employees from India, but she lives in the U.S. You know, she's on an H-1B visa. Been with Ericsson for quite a while. I became her manager, I want to say 3 years ago. Um, I have taken a special interest in the women on our team because Ericsson does not have a lot of women in leadership. So I, uh, I have one-on-one meetings, and I with a lot of the women, especially. Um, didn't know she was struggling, and come to find out on one of our visits, I was just like, how's it really going?
Hmm.
And she lost her uncle and her grandmother, um, and her parents were sick with COVID, all in the span of 60 days. And she could not, of course, there was no flying into India at that point. Um, and she just was a mess. And she says, I need to go see, she has a sister on the East Coast. And I said, absolutely, go as long as you need to go, and come back when you feel better. Because she had to be with family. Um, she was a newlywed and separated from her husband. Her husband is in India.
Oh,
Um, this same woman since then has been promoted. Yay. um, Her husband has come to visit, but he had to go back after a certain number of days. Um, but and for reasons that are, something on the lines of, well, he's an entrepreneur, and you can't get a work permit in the United States as an entrepreneur,
ah,
so he can't come to live with her. Um, and she's such a beautiful young woman. She wants a family. She wants all those things. But with your husband halfway across the world, how do you
yeah.
accomplish that? So she asked me if she could move to Canada. Would I still keep her? Absolutely. So we're right now in the middle of trying to get her moved to Canada so her husband can join her. I have a former colleague, very good friend of mine, who actually is an immigration specialist in Toronto, which is where they're moving to. And I've got those two plugged in, and things are looking much better for her.
It sounds to me like the turning point was when you said, "How are you really?" Plus,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, Dolly, you had to earn that trust. So,
Oh,
if you were gruff and scary and you asked that question, she would not have answered.
not only that, but it's a culture thing. When you're dealing with someone from a different culture, um, you know, particularly in India, they don't want to show their real selves. They don't want to be vulnerable to their leaders. They want to show strength, and in my opinion, sharing those weaknesses is a strength, so um, yeah, after a while, and now we've just become gal pals, the
Right.
two of us. Um, yeah, she's pretty amazing woman.
Well, my guess, I'm thinking about the phrase ROI. So some of my more analytical leaders who for this is not obvious to them. They want to know, why should I do that? Why should I ask someone how they really are? To me, my I can guess this woman is crazy loyal. You had a good employee that got to be a better employee.
Yeah.
You're pushing her up through the company. She's serving the organization. What else? I mean, what's the value not just for Ericsson but for Dolly?
Um, I'm reaching the end of my career, and it's kind of like you want to leave some place, like when you go camping, leave it better than when I arrived, and I want to make it better. Um, this has been a crazy time, but the blessings of COVID is, my team is remote from Ericsson. We're embedded with the customer, and oftentimes they forget, or it's easy to forget, that they belong to Ericsson. And because of COVID, we were able to connect on video, and they started feeling more like Ericsson. They started listening to me because um, we were giving them everything they needed and more from a company, um, during this time. Um, when I leave this company, when I retire, I'm not ever going to have to worry about it. I put my mark on it, and I left it better than when I found it.
I'm hearing pride and satisfaction in your voice.
Yeah, I also this past year was very surprised. Uh, the head of managed services, the vice president, called me in I think it was in January, totally off guard, and made me ugly cry. That I had been chosen as the Pinnacle Award winner for all of Managed Services North America. Um, that's the kind of award you get, like, there's your career. There's no other award to get at Ericsson. It's the highest achievement, and I was just blown away. You know,
Is this
one of the
is that huge award? Which, by the way, congratulations, you. Well done.
thank you.
Um, is that a direct? Is that related to your tactical skills as an Ericsson badass, or is that related to your people skills as a
It's
fantastic leader?
it's the people skills. One of the things that we did is, when we after the voice survey, we put together, trainings where we all come in the same room, and we do presentations. And I thought, okay, we're locked down. What do we do now? Right? So I put together a virtual summer camp. And you should have seen my living room. I had 80 camp boxes, little boxes, and I silk screened Ericsson flags. I embroidered team scarves, and for all 80 boxes, there was a little kit, and I even had a mini s'mores kit inside of it. And then, of course, there's a welcome letter and a schedule of events. We had a week long, 1 hour a day. We all went to camp and we did fun stuff. All my leaders were wearing camping gear, and and we just made it really fun because they'd worked so hard. Our attendance was off the charts, um, and everyone just loved it. Just
Mm.
loved it. So I did a repeat on Halloween. And Halloween week, that was a lot of fun. I was a gypsy and I told fortunes. So it's like, okay, you're stuck at home. You can't. Many of you can't go anywhere. Um, let's just have a good time while we're learning something. So yeah, make it fun. And so as a result of all of those activities, um, in the empathy and humanness category, I think is where I was just blown away that of all the people in North America, I was the one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me so proud of you. I just am. You just blow me away, Dolly. But also, I'm kind of surprised in a happy way that Ericsson recognizes the value of what you are and what you do. Because
It's a
that seems like
fantastic
it
company.
might not go that way at a different company.
Well, Ericsson is a very special company. Um, I'll tell a little story about when the Black Lives Matter, um, the protests were going on. Our head of men, our ultimate leader, had a all employee meeting and broke down in tears,
Oh,
over what was happening. Since then, he has made good on some promises, that this company is very involved in the several Black Alliance projects. And he's also a great supporter of, we have an Asian group as well, Asian support group. And the LGBTQ. We have, they just don't, they just don't miss anything.
Wow.
You know, it's about the people. Without the people, we wouldn't have a business. So they have to be our number one concern, you know?
Without the people, we wouldn't have a business.
No. You know, and we have the best and the brightest in the industry. And we want to keep them. We want to keep them. We make them happy. We recognize them. We give them what the support that they need. You know, it's not just about tools, software tools, and you know, and access to systems and things like that. It's people tools. It's access to people. You know, that's where my focus has always been.
Boy, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I, I wonder if you'd let me go back in time. You said something about I can't remember the way you phrased it. Basically, exposing your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses makes you strong.
Yes.
Can you expand on that? Because that sounds brilliant to me, but I'd love to know more about what you're thinking.
Um, you know, I was many times in my career, I was the only woman in a leadership role. I mean, I started out in sporting goods industry, right? And you know, it was kind of a guy thing. Um, they didn't show weakness, right? They didn't say they didn't know something. They would spin it or twist it to where they didn't actually have to come out and say that. But I think what I've learned is if I say I don't know that, then what happens is all the people that do know it, they want to teach me. They open up. They feel important because of what they know. So that is, I think, a strength for a leader to recognize if you don't know something, you have to allow the people around you to share and to teach you. And that gives them more purpose. That gives them an opportunity to shine, right? I mean, I'm surrounded by brilliance, right? And that's how I learn is from these brilliant people that I work with. So big benefit for me.
Yeah, I love what
Hmm.
you said. It gives them an opportunity to feel important.
Yes.
Well, all right. So I'm hesitant to take too much more of your time. I wonder if you could talk to me, Dolly, as though I was a well-meaning, successful leader who just didn't get it. Meaning, like, let's go meet your metrics, go meet your whatever that means to you, and get back to me when you're done. And I'm not here to be your camp counselor, right? I'm not here to be your parent. I just want you to get it done, just like I always have. I would think you would say, "Well, you're missing it, Brad." But how would you teach me if you were, if I came to you as a mentee and just said, "Dolly, I don't get it. This sounds like you're a care bear, not a leader."
Well, before we get started, how has your family been? I mean, is your family doing okay during COVID?
That is textbook Dolly Babb, isn't it?
I think I would go through that exercise to give that person an opportunity to tell me how his life is. And when he's finished speaking, I say, how did that make you feel?
Warm.
Got it? Yeah. And when was the last time you asked an employee that question?
Okay, okay, we're giving you the Pinnacle Award. That's all there is to it. That you earned it.
Yeah. And, you know, you have to have, people have to experience something in order to relate to it and pass it on, right? So you know, I know my share of what I call ladder climbers. I've been able to climb the same ladder without having to do any of that. You know, yes, I have to produce. Yes, I have to be successful. but I do it my way. I do it, from the people perspective. I would never threaten anyone. Um, I think early in my career, you know, I might have panicked, and I used to be a screamer when I worked. Oh my gosh, 30 years ago.
You?
Um, I was a screamer. Yeah, actually, there was a time when I worked for an unnamed telecom, and I I pretty much ran. Well, I was the manager of all PMO, right? We did all of the software development for all of the enterprise systems and everything. And we were on a critical project to where, and I also coordinated what code was in every environment. So we had to do, this was a huge project. We had to do a test in one environment, get to a certain point, and then we had to wait on the new code to come in and do the flow through. And they must have drawn straws, and this guy in operations got the short one and walked into my office and said, "Well, I guess you haven't heard." Haven't heard what? I guess you haven't heard that we lost all the data in the test environment.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, you're funny. He goes, no, it really happened. We've lost all the data. I shot up from my desk and very loudly yelled, "Son of a bitch!" And I ran to every director's office and said, "Conference room now, conference room now, conference room now." Got them all together, and I said, "How are you going to fix it?" I mean, I got ugly. And they all just kind of scared, looked at me. Well, I said, no, 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 no. You are all very smart people. And somebody in this room has an answer, and we're not leaving until we get it. How are we going to fix it?
Ooh.
And pretty soon, they all started talking to one another, and they figured out, well, we could try this. Great, go try it. And it worked. And we got our environment back, we got our data back. And but that was not a time, I guess, for me to be sweet.
Right.
So I'm not perfect. There's times you got to learn these lessons as you get more and more experience.
If that happened to you today, how would you have handled that differently?
Oh, we'd all still be in the conference room with great urgency, right? Um, but then I would say, okay, somebody explain to me the root cause. You know, I think I'd be a lot calmer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would be as frantic and as pushy. Or if I was pushy, it would be with a wink and a smile. You know, um, and I would outright say in a very kind way, "You're the smartest people I know. You guys have got to come up with a solution here."
Uh,
And be a lot more sincere.
well, plus, I would think, you need them to be at their best and creative,
Yeah.
and giving them some kudos might lead to more creativity than yelling at them.
Yeah, I've been running a class called Rickson on the Move. We transitioned through all of this pandemic. We transitioned to agile methodology, and what I was finding was they weren't moving as a team. They weren't communicating like they should because now we have stable teams. And I conducted like a 2-hour class of Rickson on the Move, and we talked about our 5 focus areas in the company. Humanness and empathy was one of them. Speak up environment. And, these teams are made up globally. So there's different cultures, and they're like, "Oh, we don't speak up." And, "Oh, yeah, you're going to learn this way." Um, Cooperation and collaboration, and executing speedily. Um, our motto now is fail fast and learn.
Oh,
Yeah. So we are going to fail. But when we do, we all own it together, and we learn something and we try again. Yeah.
What does that
The
mean? Do
only
you all own it together? That's as opposed to singling it out and saying, Brad Montgomery, you messed that up.
Yeah, we don't say that anymore. We say the team owns the failure. The team owns the success. If Brad does something great, the whole team gets a pat on the back because they were there to support, right? Even the smallest thing of Brad, I'll give you space, that's support.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we celebrate as a team. We cry as a team when things go badly, but we do fail fast and learn.
All right, so I call you up. I'm one of your peers, and I'm like, I think I need to be a little bit more supportive. Could you give me another example of how I do that? For example, I loved those postcards with just thanks for speaking up in the meeting because I didn't know what to say. So specific. Is there another thing that would be easy for me as a skeptical leader of this concept, a little bit awkward, not such a cheery Care Bear type?
Just pick up the phone. Pick up the phone and call somebody. Say, how are you? Just touching base. Is there anything I can do to support you? You know, most of the time you're going to get, I can't think of anything. But there are times when someone says, oh, I'm so glad you called.
Ah,
You know, so even if you make 100 phone calls, you may get one, hey, yeah, you can help me with this.
mm,
So what's really funny is that the programs that I have created have been praised by senior managers and vice presidents. And always there's an invitation to my colleagues. I will do this for you. I will show you how to do this for your team. And nobody's ever called me.
that why not? What are they missing?
No, I don't know. I think it is a lot of that good old boy network of it's too touchy feely for me kind of thing. It doesn't have to be touchy feely. You can be kind and it will go a long way. You just have to find your brand of kindness. You know, Everybody else's brand is not mine.
I think
Um,
you just landed on the crux of the thing that's so fascinating to me. This concept seems really obvious to me. And I clearly I'm learning from you. So you're the master of this. This is just innate. This is part of Dolly. And I'm very happy to report all of the science is completely consistent with what you're saying. Yet, just like you said, people are not saying, "How do I get on board with this? How do I could? This sounds valuable for my team." That I don't understand that.
I think some of it too is some of these leaders are afraid to delegate. They're afraid to let go of some of that power. Um, what I have found is that the more I let go and the more I empower my employees, the less stress I have, knowing that others have picked it up and they're doing fine with it.
Uh,
I mean, I have a new manager. She's an excellent project manager. Being a manager is different, and she's learning that. And so, I meet with her quite often. I've known her forever, um, and she's learning. She's learning. She's got to learn to delegate. Give some of that power to some of your staff, and you won't be so frazzled. You won't be so under pressure.
mm.
You know. And I said, if you've ever noticed, that's what I do with you. Whenever that I have something that I need to delegate, I give it to you and you do it. But you just keep saying yes, yes, and it grows and it grows and it grows. Get rid of some of that power and you're going to relieve some of your stress. And
Mm.
leaders have a lot of stress. So, empowerment.
But that also seems related, Dolly, to what you said earlier by saying by being vulnerable and admitting your weaknesses makes you stronger. My gut says that's exactly what you're talking about here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I have another leader who's ambitious and he wants to. I mean, he applies for every job I think that's posted, and I support that. Um, there are leaders who want to hang on to their good people, but I want them to do whatever makes them happy.
Yeah.
And if changing positions and taking on new and exciting things is what they want to do, I'm going to support it. Yeah, I'm going to hurt for a little bit, but a long time ago, one of my leaders told me about uh, replacing people, right? And you have to think of it as you put your hand in a bucket of water and the water overflows, right? That's the person. And when you remove that, the water level goes down, but there's still water there. You just have to find another hand to put in that water, right? And
Oh,
sometimes the hand enters very slowly before it spills over the bucket, right? Um, but as I think leaders have to look at it that way. And not only that, but my team is going to remember how I led, and those people that end up being leaders will hopefully take a piece of that and apply it to their career as well.
gosh, you're amazing. You're. I can't tell you, Dolly, how much I appreciate you. It's so generous to. This is the third time we've talked. Each time
Yeah.
I learn more, and it's so generous because there's just no reason that you have to do this. But I'm telling you, I'm so grateful.
Well, I'm kind of fond of you too, Brad.
Oh.
Yeah, you're a fun guy to talk to.
Okay, everybody. I told you that was going to be a great interview. That was Dolly Babb from Rickson. She is the director of delivery for Rickson, and you know what I know now. She is a flippin' rock star. But I said this at the beginning of the podcast, but I'm going to say it again because just listen to it again. What amazes me is she is not using social and emotional support as a tool to get something for her. Right? She's not trying to manipulate anybody. And by the way, you could use social and emotional support to manipulate people. She does this because she's kind and she believes in humanity and empathy, and she just does this because she is trying to make the campsite better than when she found it. But I can't help but notice that we are now aware, and Dolly Babb is hyper aware, that although she is just trying to improve people, she clearly sees there's a direct and straight line between her empathy and humanness, as she calls it, and bottom line business metric growth. She's a star. Dolly, thanks for being here. The rest of you, do me a favor, hit all the social media stuff you can. If you're listening to this on Apple, an Apple review means a lot. Don't hit 5 stars, smash 5 stars. Please leave a nice comment. You're just helping me get the word out, and I appreciate it. If you see this on social media, make sure you hit like and subscribe. You know the drill. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time when we get another dose of social and emotional support in the real world. Thanks, peeps.